Welcome, everyone, back to the Puff Drink Talk podcast. Conrad here.
Hilton.
George.
Jonathan.
Our special guest, Jonathan. The other podcast where we had Jonathan, he talked a little bit about his companies that he's running, Barbecue Foundations, May 16th.
Yep, May 16th.
May 16th. I got that. So if you can, that'll be linked onto the puffdrinktalk.com website. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom and hit calendar, or at the top right-hand corner, there's a calendar feature. You'll be able to see that event. It's all for a great cause. Join, donate, and enjoy some barbecue.
Come out and have some fun.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Well,
I want to hear some crazy stories.
Yes.
Of management.
Oh, we want to hear management crazy stories?
Yeah.
foreclosure crazy story.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
I don't want to categorize the craziness. Can you divide, like, you have 20 minutes, right? So can you divide in like 3 stories of 6 minutes? We would appreciate that.
Three stories of 6
Yeah.
minutes.
With Jonathan is like one story over the 20 minutes.
Yeah, so it depends, right? Like, I can do it like drinking from a fire hose, or I can I can do it where I
Do you have a 6-minute version?
where I stand up and it's an
Yeah.
action story. It's very involved, right? So
No, hold on. Let me just say how I know Jonathan. So we network a lot, and at least 2 groups together. That we meet every single week, and he always asks someone in the room. What is the question? Like light,
normal, often. Or an extreme.
On extreme. I always pick the extreme when he asks me because it's crazy. And then some people pick like often, because it's like something that repeats itself every now and again because people are, the same. So
yeah. Here, that's what I think we'll do. Let's give examples of normal, often, and extreme. Okay.
Go ahead.
So that's pretty easy to do, right? Because I don't think people know what they're in for when they answer this question all the time. And I will say yesterday, at the Puff Drink Talk event here, I don't know, 90 people maybe.
93, yeah.
Yeah. So about 90 people, right? And I realized I did my pitch up at the for being a sponsor at the front, just like I would do at one of our network meetings. And then I realized that didn't go over as well because a lot of the people in the room don't know me, and so then they don't necessarily know what I'm talking about, right? So let's give a little bit of background, right? So I have 2 partners, and we started One Life Investments, which is our investing arm that invests in, purchases and manages, insures, and does the CapEx work for apartment complexes, right? So one of the pieces that we love to do also is to coach other people. So if anybody's interested in getting into apartments or any other real estate and wants to know, please reach out. I'd love to talk through those things and help people out that want to get in. So One Life Investments started One Life Management so that we could manage properties here in Austin. And apartment complexes, right? Not single-family properties. We do not currently manage single-family properties, just for clarification. So in managing apartment complexes, let me give a little bit of understanding of how that works, right? It's a lot different. You actually don't have to have a real estate license. You do have to have a broker that's part of your ownership team. So we do have a broker that's in our ownership. And it has to be a Texas broker. So we have a Texas broker that's in our ownership team. But at each one of these, you effectively have an on-site property manager, right? And they work as more or less an office manager. So, they manage leases and tours and problems and maintenance work orders and evictions and all those kinds of things, right? So that is what that person does. And then typically you have an area manager that's over them. Currently, due to the size of our company, myself and my partner Mike that are here in Austin, we are the area managers, and Tasha is our current on-site manager for the 103 doors that we manage on 3 properties, okay? So just to give a little bit of understanding of exactly what we do and how this kind of works. So when I say Hilton, normal, often, or extreme, and Hilton says normal, okay? Normal is, what do you do when you have a tenant that comes in looking for an apartment and they can't decide between 3 different apartments that they're looking at? Nothing. Give me a call. We're going to set them up with Tasha. Tasha's going to give them a tour. She's going to explain to them what we have on these apartments, things that we take care of. She's going to put together the lease for them, get their deposits, get them moved in, make sure that the apartment was ready to go before that happened, that their functionality of their doors and all their things work, that they're set up for their parking, that their tenant insurance is in place, that their lease is properly signed. I cannot tell you how many times I've looked at leases and the move-in date is April 1st of 2025. The move-out date is March 31st of 2024. Lots of times that I've seen that, and I'm like, And both the property manager
Get in and get out.
Yep, and the property manager that we had taken over for the property management company. Their property manager had done this on like 10 leases, and both.
So the tenant walks in moonwalk,
and their lease is up. It's over.
Yeah, they come in moonwalk.
Thanks for the free money.
Yeah.
Thanks for the deposit.
Walking backwards.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, guys, you got to think about this, right? The manager set this up and made this lease and signed it, and the tenant signed it. So
nobody read it.
Nope. So we take over and asked some tenants, and they're like, "Hey, I don't do legalese, and that's y'all's responsibility." It's like, well, no, you signed the contract. So simple, basic things like that, right? That's normal. Okay. So if I go in and I say, Conrad, normal, often, or extreme, and Conrad says often, right?
Yeah.
All right. So often would be, what do you do when the tenant has not paid their bills? You set up a payment plan, and they haven't fulfilled those payment plans, and so now they're behind over a month of rent. Nothing. Give us a call. We're going to get with our attorney. We'll handle the eviction. We'll set up the process. We'll put the notices to the tenant. We'll have the discussions with the tenant. We will remove the tenant in whatever time frame that we're allowed in the city of Austin. Don't even ask. It's utterly ridiculous. And so we will go through that entire process. We will put that in collections. We will attempt to collect as much money as we possibly can. We'll remove, once that tenant is removed, we will get that property back to, that unit back to rent ready, and we will get it filled. That's often, right? We don't evict people every day. So that's not a normal occurrence. Okay. So, and part of the reason for these questions, right, is that a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to buy a, apartment complex. I'm going to buy a rental property. I'm going to whatever. And they think they're going to self-manage. But what they're not thinking about is all these nuances, right?
Yeah.
What everybody talks about is, what do you do when a toilet goes out? No, come on. That's
Yeah.
that's simple, right? Like, call a contractor if you don't know. I mean, but that's what everybody talks about. They don't try to tell you about all the legal, parts and ramifications that go with this.
Can I? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
But
That's
I want to know what are some of the laws differentiating between like Austin, Round Rock, Pflugerville? I mean, are there different eviction notices based on where the apartment complex is?
Sure. So any major city, right, is not to try to bring any kind of politics into the discussion, right? But major cities are they're more liberal in the way they operate, right?
Right.
And so they're also going to be more liberal in tenant rates. And so in Austin, I'll just kind of give you, for instance, of time frames, right? Almost everywhere, the notices and the eviction is the same. You give a notice 3 days, so they have to pay by whatever date it is that your lease stipulates, right? So the 4th or whatever. And then if they haven't paid, you can give a notice immediately on the 5th, that they need to get this paid, or that they're going to have an eviction filed against them. Typically, the notice is a 3-day notice, and then after that point, you can say that, hey, we've started the eviction process, so you can file, right? So all the other stuff after that starts to get off in the weeds. But let me give you, for instance, in Austin, it takes us typically 45 to 75 days to get a tenant completely out of that unit while they're not paying. Austin also has an appeal that the tenant can do, and through different things in different ways we just had a tenant that was moved in, never paid a nickel, and it took us 10 months for them to get out. The girl knew the process. She was doing illegal activities in the unit. On top of that, we had a litigation lawyer involved. It was a nightmare. In Corpus Christi, we can go through that same process, and I can get that person gone, 17 days. So, different smaller cities are more landlord-friendly, and larger cities, Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, they're going to be more tenant-friendly.
Right.
And the thing is that, some people will be like, well, landlord-friendly is, kind of a trick. Well, we have a mortgage, not we, but the owner, right, has a mortgage that they have to pay as well.
Right.
So when that tenant doesn't pay their rent, now the landlord is paying for that tenant to live there. So I don't know a lot of people that walk around and just hand money to people they don't know.
For 10 months.
Yeah, for 10 months.
That's insane.
And caused a bunch of damage to the property. So it's not only the 10 months of lost rent.
It's
It's a nightmare.
Can I ask
right?
you a question?
Sure.
from 2020, 2021, there are a lot of forbearances, right? So
Yep.
how did you deal with that part, especially in cities like Austin, right? So I worked in mortgage at that time. So I saw like a lot of people buying properties in 2020, 2021.
Yep.
But then it got to 2021 and 2022, man, it was a nightmare.
Yep.
This guy bought like 17 properties in 2 years, and we are helping refinancing, delay finances and everything.
Yep.
Got to 2022, man, like 6 or 7 of his properties were in forbearance for a year or something. So he built his whole business model on, being able to
Sure.
to pay for the, the
You buy one, it pays itself.
the refinance that he made for each of the properties, then he couldn't. He started selling it.
Yeah.
You have to sell it. I mean, it's
So-
fast. When it goes like that, it's fast.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I had single family rental properties then. I didn't have any problems actually with the forbearance on mine. My tenants have been in there for a while. They had steady jobs, and they didn't, try to use that to their advantage. And we actually, like I said, we weren't buying apartments until 22, right?
Yeah,
So all I could tell you is different stories I've heard. So it really depended on the area. Actually, most of the guys that I know that had Austin properties, it wasn't too bad. But there were one of our partners is in Wichita, Kansas, and we have some properties in Wichita, and we've heard stories about half their apartments weren't paying their rents or whatever, and so you basically the government put it on the landlords, right, to have to pay for these people to live there, and so it was a lot of fun. But I think for the most part. I think that as long as your tenants, if they were properly vetted tenants to start with, you didn't have too much of an issue with the forbearance, them trying to utilize and burn that up. I think it was really the people that were just trying to get units filled and were, skating their normal process of getting people in that actually had the issues. So I had a friend that he had a rental property, and his tenant on his Facebook page posted and said, hey, because of the forbearance and I know other people are hurting, I want to help those of you that can't pay your rent. So I'm not going to pay my rent so that I can give you the money to pay yours. And my buddy called his tenant and he said, I just saw this post. Did you read this post before you put it out? And so the guy didn't understand why this came across. And so he didn't pay his rent for like 3 months because he supposedly was giving the money to other people, which I think he probably wasn't helping anybody anyway. But yeah,
Trying to make a point,
he said, I'm not going to pay my rent so that I can help somebody else pay their rent. So
It's probably a lie. He was, not paying anybody and not helping anybody.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's for sure.
Speaking of lying, yeah.
Sorry, I just have to know. Going back to that
yeah.
woman that didn't pay for 10 months. What like legally can happen to her? I mean, there has to be some type of punishment. I mean,
So she will get sent to collections, which means that it will go on her credit. She didn't have anything on her credit before, so a lot of people, right? You have to pay to initiate that process, right?
Right.
And there are companies out there that will take our collections agency, right? They take a percentage of whatever that they get, but you have to pay them kind of a startup fee, and it's not that much, right? It's a couple $100 or something like that. But if somebody doesn't do that, if like a property manager says, I don't want to go through the hassle, there's nothing on her credit to show
Right.
that she didn't pay this rent, right? So then when we do a background check, we can't see that they didn't pay it. So you could file for the collections through collections for it. Beyond that, not much. I mean, you could take her to small claims.
Yeah.
Which would be a total nightmare.
Yeah.
And you can't get blood from a turnip. So, but yeah, this woman literally changed out the light bulb in her outside light of her door to a red bulb to turn it on when she was busy.
fuck, man. God damn.
So it's the red light district.
And this isn't a downtown. This was actually in the most upper end apartment that we manage downtown.
So she was actually a social worker.
Man,
She's doing the community good.
She
crookedness
yeah.
crookedness doesn't respect any demographics.
No, that's
It doesn't matter. It's every social class, every race, whatever you want to divide that age.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Nationality, if you want to do that, if you want to toss in there, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
So,
we've
and
seen
that
this.
and that is normal.
That's often.
That's often, right?
Yeah.
And often maybe every 3 months, right? Like, I mean, often's not that often.
Okay.
But it doesn't fall into the extreme category. So
So
imagine what the extreme is.
yeah. We have 5 minutes to explore that.
okay. All right. So I'll give you all a couple extremes. Okay. So
Cool.
Hilton's heard a couple of these maybe already, but all right. So I think I started this whole thing, right? Because stories are definitely what you should do at networking events, because then people remember you. So I think I started this whole thing one day. I came in and it's interesting because my sales manager is sitting after me for ICS Quality Homes, and he had to go after me, and so he had to follow this. So I stand up and I said, "Morning, everybody," and I said, and at the time I wasn't calling people out, right? I just started realizing how effective that would be. So I said, "All right, everybody," and I said, "What do you do if that you have a guy that goes in an apartment complex, kills himself, blows his brains out all over that unit, and everybody runs, and you've got all these issues? Nothing. Give me a call. We'll come in. We'll handle the news. We'll handle the police. We'll handle the insurance claims. We'll handle the lender. We will handle the tenants. We will handle the cleanup. We will handle the hazmat cleanup. We will handle getting somebody else into a unit that may or may not know that somebody was dead inside this unit and that killed himself. And so we'll take care of all that stuff so that way you don't have to, right?" So that was the first extreme. So which is obviously much different also when I can stand up in front of a group and can be semi yelling this, right?
I can picture that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
People are like, "Oh fuck, man, what did I come into?"
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Because now he doesn't say nothing anymore. He just says like, "What do you do?" And then everybody goes like, "Nothing."
Yeah. So then I was like, okay. So it's super funny, right? I think I'm probably a month into doing these, right? Across at least our Wednesday and Thursday meetings, and then here at the when I sponsor the event, and maybe a couple other places, right? So I think I'm probably 12 to 15 of these deep, right? And so I had to disclaim, and tell people, because they were like, "Is this true? I mean, and I'm like, I can't make this shit up." Yeah. So I'll give you all the last one. Conrad, what do you do if you have a tenant that is dealing drugs and cooking meth in his unit? He blows up the unit and lights the unit on fire and completely burns that unit down.
Nothing.
Hang on, I'm not done.
No,
I'm not done. No.
Jesus. All right. There's more
so
to this.
this fire then burns the entire complex at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday, and burns down a 24 unit part of your 342 unit complex.
Holy shit.
What do you do?
Nothing.
Damn right, you do nothing. You do nothing.
God damn.
You give me a call. We're going to handle the news, the insurance, the contractors for the rebuild process, the lender, getting those units back up online as fast as possible, because the lender lends, right, on 342 units, not 318 units.
Right.
So the lender is up your ass that you've got to get these other 24 units rebuilt, right? Because otherwise they're going to make you actually pay your loan down for less 24 units most of the time. So you've got to get this done, right? So insurance, news, obviously the news is going to be much larger, more active, longer standing. Like, let me give you, for instance, right? The guy, he actually didn't kill himself. He was murdered in the unit. The last guy that we were evicting on a property that we took over was that, like, the kingpin of this area, and we had no idea, because he paid his rent on time to the day, every single month. His unit was spotless, and so he kept it that way so nobody would know, right? So then he was the last one getting evicted, and so he had the guy killed. And so that news reporting, right, happened for one day. 3 days later, we never heard a thing about it again. It was just done, right? People die on properties all the time, right? Like murders, deaths, suicides, car accidents. It always happens on land, right? I mean, it doesn't happen in outer space, right? And so that goes away pretty quickly. You burn down 24 units, of a large property in the middle of San Antonio, and, you're going to get news for a while, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got investors constantly asking you what you're doing. And so you got to put all that together, right? So you have to know how to deal with the insurance company. You have to know how to deal with the contractors. And that's the biggest piece, right? That a lot of property management companies, most property management companies were an on-site property manager. They became an area manager for a company, and then they decided to go start their own property management company, right?
Right.
That's all they've ever done. Or maybe they were an office manager. Maybe they worked at Lowe's before that, or McDonald's, right? So that's kind of their background. Our background is, Mike and I have collectively almost 60 years experience being contractors. So, and I've done hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of insurance claims. So knowing how to work with insurance and with contractors and speaking their lingo and being able to save the money, and they're appreciative of the fact that we understand what they're saying, right? And that we can work with them, and that, we have realistic expectations of what something can get done, helps us get the jobs, get things put back together and get rebuilds done and those kinds of things much faster and on better budgets. So
That's cool, man.
So
That's crazy.
That's a pitch, man.
Yeah,
I will tell
really.
you. I was just thinking, I always keep in my phone a jack of all trades, a lawyer, a policeman, and a physician contact right away. I think I'm gonna have to add yours. If I have more properties, I would definitely give you. I mean, hey, man, I want to know. I'm not gonna do anything.
yeah.
I'm gonna let you do it. I would have his card right away. I'm gonna include your number into my list. Of the most necessary contacts I have to. Must have it. And it's good for you because you're having more properties back in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, if you get, I think there should be more more in the prevent all these things to happen, right? So do you
100%.
Do you also educate people on this?
Yep.
How to prevent that?
Yeah. So these, right, are properties that we took over. Mm-hmm. And a couple of them, right, they're not stories. They're not things that happened to me. They're things that I know that our third party managers have had to deal with, right? And so some of them are not mine, but they're still real property management stories. And the San Antonio one I know very well because our property manager in Corpus Christi, it was their property that they had to handle this on, right? And so, there's different things that you can do to theoretically try to prevent these, or at least reduce, the likelihood of this happening. But we have people that will call us, that are out of state. Maybe they lived here before, and they moved. And so we did work for them on other things, and they'll call us and say, hey, I'm, thinking about buying this property, whether it's a single family, it's a flip, it's a multifamily, whatever it is. And they'll say, can you go over and take a look at it, do a walk, meet with the broker. They know that I can talk to the broker, the lender, they're the seller, their partners, the contractors, all that stuff. So they'll say, hey, can you go, do the meeting for me? We do that all the time. But I love to coach people on stuff. Ultimately that's where I think the space that I'll end up in. Is we had a real estate coaching program for a little while, and actually the only reason that I didn't stick with it was because the guys, it was rough market. It was the last couple of years, right? And so since it was rough, they were having a hard time finding deals. And it was too hard to just give them stuff based on theoreticals. And so I was like, when you just find a deal, just call me. I was like, I'll just help you with the deal.
Right.
So we love to do all that stuff.
Awesome, man.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how we're gonna wrap it up after that. All those stories.
Hey, I think we can get Jonathon talking about property investment on a future episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, that would be really interesting
For sure.
because I know that's all what all of us have been talking about and doing currently. So you're the right person to talk to about that. So
Comment, like, subscribe.
thank you very much. Till
Follow
next time.
us